I joked at dinner, maybe I should find a new partner. He replied, great idea, start packing tonight. I stopped laughing when he slid an envelope across the table. The divorce papers inside were already signed, dated, and filed at the courthouse that morning. I, 32 female, thought marriage was supposed to be about partnership and compromise. Turns out, it's actually about respect. Who knew? We were having dinner at home. Nothing special, just Thai takeout because I'd been too tired to cook. Not that I cooked much anyway. My husband handled most of that, but whatever. I'd had the worst day at work and needed to vent. My husband was doing that thing he always did, listening quietly, nodding, eating his pad thai, which honestly just annoyed me more because I wanted a reaction. You know? I wanted him to agree that my life was hard, that I deserved better. So I started listing everything wrong with our life. The apartment was too small. His job wasn't paying enough for us to take the vacations I wanted. His car was embarrassing. My friends' husbands were all doing better than him. Why wasn't he more ambitious? Why wasn't he trying harder? He just kept eating. Didn't defend himself, didn't argue, just sat there taking it like he always did. And I said it. The thing I'd been saying for months whenever I was frustrated. Honestly, maybe I should just find a new partner. Someone who can actually give me the life I deserve instead of this mediocre existence. I laughed when I said it, because it was obviously a joke, right? Just blowing off steam. We'd been together 8 years, married for 5. This was just how I talked when I was stressed. He put his fork down, wiped his mouth with his napkin real slow, then looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. You know what? Great idea. You should start packing tonight. I stopped laughing. What? He reached down beside his chair where his work bag was sitting, pulled out this manila envelope, slid it across the table to me. My hands shook when I opened it. Divorce papers, real ones, official courthouse stamps and everything, and they were already signed. His signature right there at the bottom with today's date. Filed this morning according to the timestamp. What the hell is this? Exactly what it looks like. You want a better life with a better partner. I'm setting you free to find that. The room started spinning. This isn't funny. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm completely serious. I filed for divorce this morning. You have until the end of the month to move out. You can't be serious. I was joking. Were you though? He leaned back in his chair, so calm it was terrifying. Because you've made that exact joke about 15 times this year, I started counting after the 7th time. Everyone complains about their spouse. Everyone vents. Do they tell their partner repeatedly that they should trade up? That their current situation is mediocre and disappointing? That they settled? My mouth opened, but nothing came out. I've tried talking to you about this multiple times. You either laugh it off or tell me I'm being too sensitive. So I stopped trying to fix it and started planning my exit instead. When did you even have time to plan this? To see a lawyer? 3 weeks ago, right after your birthday dinner when you told your best friend, right in front of me, that you settled by marrying me because your biological clock was ticking. Oh God. I had said that, but I thought he hadn't heard, or that he'd understand I was just, I don't know, trying to be funny? I didn't mean it like that. Doesn't matter how you meant it. What matters is that's how you talk about me, about our marriage, and I'm done being your punching bag. He stood up, started putting on his jacket. Where are you going? Hotel. I'll be back tomorrow to discuss logistics. My lawyer's contact information is in the envelope. Look over the papers. We can do this easy or we can do it hard, but either way, it's happening. Wait, we need to talk about this. We're past talking. You've made it very clear how you feel about me in this marriage. Now you're free to find someone who meets your standards. And he just left. Walked out. Left me sitting there with cold takeout and divorce papers and this sick feeling in my stomach. That was almost a week ago, and I still can't believe this is happening. Update 1. So it's been about 2 weeks since the dinner. Things have gotten so much worse, and I'm starting to realize maybe I'm not the victim here like I thought. He came back the next day, like he said he would. Showed up mid-morning with coffee from that place near his office. Just one coffee. For himself, that's when I knew he wasn't playing around. We sat at the kitchen table and he pulled out this notebook like a composition notebook from high school. and he opened it, and there were pages of notes. Dates, times, things I'd said, things I'd done. What is that? Documentation. Because I knew when this day came, you'd try to make me feel crazy for leaving. He started reading some of them out loud. February, told my parents I was fine, I guess. When they asked how marriage was. March, complained to her sister that my car was embarrassing and she refused to ride in it. March, told friends at dinner party that I was adequate but not ambitious. April, during argument about vacation budget, said she deserved better than camping trips. May, after I got passed over for promotion, called me a disappointing investment. June, told coworker within my earshot that she could have married a doctor if she'd waited another year. July, at her birthday dinner, said she settled because her biological clock was ticking. The list went on and on. There were at least 30 entries spanning the last year and a half. Looking at it all written out like that made me feel sick, but also defensive. You kept a list? That's actually psychotic. No, that's documentation, because every single time I tried to talk to you about how you were making me feel, you'd tell me I was being too sensitive or that I couldn't take a joke. So I stopped talking and started documenting instead. That's manipulative. What's manipulative is spending years tearing down your partner and then acting shocked when they finally leave. I tried crying. Full waterworks. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't realize it bothered you that much. I was just venting. I didn't mean any of it. Yes, you did. Maybe not consciously, but you meant it. And even if you didn't, you said it anyway, over and over, in front of me, in front of our friends and family, to anyone who would listen. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I suggested counseling 8 months ago. You laughed and said we were fine, that I was overreacting. He was right. I had said that, because I thought we were fine. I was fine, and that's what mattered, right? Look, he said. I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing this because I deserve to be with someone who respects me, and you deserve to find whatever you're looking for. But it's not me. What about the apartment? Lease is in both our names, but I already talked to the landlord. I'm taking it over completely. You need to find your own place. That's not fair. This is my home too. Then you should have thought about that before spending years making me feel unwelcome in it. We argued for another hour, but he wouldn't budge. Eventually he left and said his lawyer would be in touch about dividing property. I immediately called my best friend. She came over that night with wine and I told her everything. He's divorcing you over some comments? That's insane. Men are so sensitive now, right? Thank you. But then she asked to see the notebook. I'd taken pictures of some pages. She read through them and her face changed. Oh, okay, so this is actually pretty bad. Excuse me? Look, I'm your friend and I love you, but some of this stuff, the thing about his parents, the birthday dinner comment, I was there for that. I thought you were kidding, but reading it with all this other stuff, you're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side. But babe, you've been complaining about him constantly for like 2 years. The money, the job, the car, the ambition. At what point does venting become just mean? We got into a fight and she left, but before she did, she said maybe I should actually think about why he kept that notebook in the first place, like maybe he had a reason. I spent that night going through our text messages, our old photos, and I started seeing a pattern I'd never noticed before. In the beginning, he used to share things with me, excited about projects at work, ideas for weekend trips, funny stories from his day, and over the years, he just stopped. Stopped sharing. Stopped trying to impress me. Stopped talking much at all beyond basic logistics. I thought he'd just gotten comfortable. Turns out he'd gotten tired of me shooting down everything he said. My mom called the next day. His parents had already told her and my dad. What on earth did you do? First thing she said, I didn't do anything. He's overreacting to some comments I made. Stop. I've heard the way you talk about that man. We all have. Your father and I kept hoping you'd grow out of it, but you just got worse. Worse? I was just being honest about how disappointed you are in your marriage. In him? We know. You made it very clear to everyone, including him. What did you think would happen? I thought he understood I was just venting. There's venting and there's verbal abuse. You crossed that line a long time ago. It wasn't abuse. God, everyone's so dramatic. Was it not? Would you stay with someone who constantly told you they settled for you? That you weren't good enough? That they could have done better? I didn't have an answer for that. My brother texted that evening. Heard you're getting divorced. Can't say I'm surprised. You treated him like garbage. My sister sent something similar. Maybe this will teach you that you can't talk to people however you want without consequences. Even my work friends were being weird. I'd been complaining about him at the office for years, about his job, his salary, his lack of ambition, and suddenly everyone was quiet whenever I brought up the divorce. One of my coworkers pulled me aside during lunch. Look, I'm sorry about your divorce, but between you and me, we all saw this coming. The way you talked about him at happy hours, it was uncomfortable. I was just venting. For 3 years, at some point it stops being venting and starts being who you are. That hit different, because she was right. It wasn't occasional venting, it was constant. It was my personality at this point. He texted later that week, lawyer will send over property division proposal. Review it and let me know if you have questions. All communication through attorneys from now on. I tried calling him. He declined. Sent another text, said what I said. Through lawyers only. The property division came through yesterday and I almost threw up reading it. Update 2. 3 weeks since the dinner. 2 weeks since he filed. 5 days since I got the property division proposal. It's fair, technically, legally, but it feels like getting slapped in the face with reality. We each keep what we brought into the marriage plus half of shared assets. Sounds reasonable until you actually look at what that means. The apartment was already his when we moved in together. I just started paying half the rent, so he keeps it. I have to leave. The furniture, he bought most of it. The couch, the bed frame, the dining table, the TV, all his electronics, his desk. I get the coffee maker I bought 2 years ago and some decorative pillows. The car situation is even worse. His car is paid off, title in his name. My car I'm still paying $340 a month on. We each keep our own cars. Joint savings account had about $19,000 in it. I thought I'd get half. But his lawyer sent bank statements showing he'd deposited $16,500 of that over 5 years. I'd put in $2,500. So that's what I get back. This is bullshit, I told his lawyer on the phone. Half that stuff is mine. I lived there too. Do you have receipts showing you purchased any of the furniture or household items? I didn't, because he bought everything. While I'd been busy complaining it wasn't nice enough. The savings account is marital property. I should get half. In your state, for marriages under 10 years with no children and clearly documented separate finances, equitable distribution typically means proportional return of contributions. Unless you want to contest this in court, that would cost approximately $8,000 to $12,000 in legal fees for a possible recovery of an additional $3,000. I hung up on her. Then I had to start apartment hunting. My budget was not great. After rent, car payment, insurance, utilities, I had maybe $1,100 a month for everything else. Every apartment in a decent area cost $1,400 minimum. I looked at 7 places. They were all depressing. Tiny studios in sketchy neighborhoods or basement apartments with mold problems or places so far from work I'd spend 3 hours a day commuting. Finally found something. A 380 square foot studio in a building that smells like old carpet and cigarettes. $1,450 a month. No dishwasher, no laundry in unit. Parking is an extra $75. It's 30 minutes from work, and the neighborhood is okay, I guess. I signed the lease because I had no choice. Move-in costs were first month, last month, security deposit, and cleaning fee. $4,600 total. Pretty much wiped out my savings. My best friend helped me move because I couldn't afford movers. As we were packing, she kept making observations. This is everything you're taking? Just these boxes? That's all that's mine. You lived here 5 years, and you only contributed like a blender and some picture frames? He bought most of the stuff. What was I supposed to do? Maybe contribute? Buy furniture together? Build a home together instead of just living in his space and complaining about it? We didn't talk much after that. The move-in day was humiliating. The apartment looked even worse empty. My few boxes of stuff barely filled the tiny closet. I didn't have a couch, a coffee table, a TV stand, nothing. Just my clothes, some kitchen stuff, and a mattress I had to buy on credit. Ate dinner sitting on the floor that night because I didn't have a table or chairs. Cried myself to sleep on a mattress with no bed frame. But wait, it gets better. My supervisor called me into her office about a week after I moved. I heard about your divorce. I'm sorry. Thanks. I need to talk to you about something else though. Your behavior at work has been brought to my attention. My stomach dropped. What behavior? Multiple coworkers have reported feeling uncomfortable with how you discuss your personal life, specifically how you talked about your husband over the years. I was just venting. You were creating a hostile work environment. The things you said about your spouse, the constant negativity, the way you encouraged other female employees to adopt similar attitudes toward their partners. It's not appropriate for the workplace. That's ridiculous. Everyone talks about their relationships at work. There's a difference between occasionally mentioning your spouse and spending lunch breaks listing all their inadequacies. Several younger employees have actually adopted your communication style with their own partners, and it's causing issues. We can't have that. She handed me a written warning, a formal document for my file, for creating an unprofessional environment through persistent negative discourse about personal relationships. I've been at this company for 6 years. Never had a single write-up. Now I have one because I talked about my marriage. When I left her office, I could feel people staring. Everyone knew. Everyone had heard me complaining about him for years, and now they all knew he'd left me. One of the younger women who I'd always thought looked up to me stopped me in the hallway. Hey, I'm sorry about what happened. Thanks. Can I ask you something? You said he wasn't ambitious enough, right? What did he actually do? He's a project manager at an engineering firm. That's actually a good job. What does he make? Like $85,000, I think. And you said that wasn't enough? Well, no. I just meant he wasn't climbing the ladder fast enough. My boyfriend makes $45,000, and I've been treating him like it's not enough because you always said your husband's salary was disappointing. But $85,000 is almost double what my boyfriend makes. And you were still not happy? She walked away before I could respond. That night I got a text from my brother. Mom said you got written up at work for shit-talking your ex. That's actually hilarious. You destroyed your whole life over your own attitude. My sister called. Is it true you got in trouble at work? It's nothing, just some corporate BS. It's not nothing. You've been making that man the villain of your life story for years, and now everyone realizes you were the problem all along. How does that feel? I hung up. Tried to call my best friend. She didn't answer. Texted back, need some space. The move really made me realize how one-sided your marriage was. Not sure I can keep enabling your victim mentality. I lost my best friend over this, because she finally saw what everyone else apparently already knew. My mom came by my new apartment yesterday, took one look around and got this sad expression. This is what you traded your marriage for. I didn't trade anything. He left me. No, baby. You left him emotionally years ago. He just made it official. You're all acting like I'm some monster. I just had high standards. High standards? Or impossible standards? That man had a good job, treated you well, never raised his voice, did more than his share of housework, and you made him feel like a failure every single day. I was trying to motivate him. You were tearing him down. There's a difference. And now you're here, in this place, alone, because you couldn't see what you had until you lost it. She left after that. Said she loved me, but I needed to figure some things out on my own. Last night I was scrolling Instagram, saw a post from one of our mutual friends, a picture from some gathering I wasn't invited to, and there he was in the background, laughing at something someone said, looking relaxed, happy even. He looks better without me. Everyone can see it. And I'm in this studio apartment that costs more than my half of our old rent, eating ramen because I can't afford groceries until payday, completely alone because I spent 5 years making myself impossible to love. Final update. It's been 4 months since the divorce was finalized. This is probably my last update because, honestly, there's not much else to say. I destroyed my life and now I'm living in the aftermath. The divorce went through without drama. No court battle, no custody issues, no joint property disputes. He got to keep his apartment and most of the furniture. I got my sad little studio and my car payment. Life here has been exactly as depressing as you'd imagine. The walls are so thin I can hear my neighbors arguing every night. The plumbing barely works. Heat is inconsistent. I'm paying almost twice what I used to pay for rent for half the space. But the apartment is honestly the least of my problems. Work has been awful. Ever since the write-up, everything changed. My coworkers are polite but distant. Nobody asks about my personal life anymore. Nobody invites me to lunch. I've become that person everyone avoids in the break room. Had a performance review last month. My supervisor was brutally honest. Your work quality is acceptable, but your attitude is affecting team morale. You have a pattern of focusing exclusively on negatives. With your work, with your colleagues, with everything, we need you to work on that. She's putting me on a performance improvement plan. 30 days to show measurable improvement in workplace attitude and team collaboration. I'm one mistake away from being fired. My social life has completely collapsed. My best friend hasn't spoken to me since the move. Mutual friends from the marriage have all sided with him. Which I guess makes sense since I apparently spent years trash-talking him to anyone who'd listen. My family tries to stay supportive, but even they can barely hide their disappointment. My brother barely returns my texts. My sister sends generic, thinking of you messages every few weeks. My parents call once a week out of obligation, but the conversations are strained. Tried dating for about 3 weeks. Created profiles on all the apps. Went on exactly 4 dates. First one, the guy asked why I was divorced. I gave some vague answer about growing apart. He pushed for details. I admitted I maybe wasn't the best partner. What does that mean? I don't know. I guess I complained a lot about his job and stuff. What was wrong with his job? Nothing really. He just wasn't making as much as I thought he should. The guy paid for his half of dinner and left. Texted later, not a good match. Best of luck. Second date went worse. I didn't mention the divorce at all. But apparently I spent the whole dinner complaining about the restaurant being too loud, the service being slow, my commute, my apartment, my job, my coworkers. He made an excuse about an early morning meeting and left before dessert. Third date lasted maybe 20 minutes. Guy literally interrupted me mid-sentence. I'm sorry, but you're incredibly negative. Every single thing you've said has been a complaint. I don't think this is going to work. He left money on the table and walked out. In the middle of the date, that's how unbearable I apparently am. Deleted all the apps after that. Haven't tried again. Money is constantly tight. After rent, car payment, insurance, utilities, and minimum payments on the credit cards, I had to max out furnishing this place. I have maybe $200 a month for food and everything else. I've been eating a lot of ramen and frozen dinners. Lost 12 pounds so far. Not in a healthy way. The worst part isn't even the practical stuff. It's the slowly dawning realization of what I had and what I did to it. I found a box of old photos last week while unpacking. Pictures of us from the early years. He looked so happy in those photos, so excited to be with me. And I looked happy too. There's this one picture from maybe year 2. We'd gone hiking and I'd twisted my ankle pretty bad. He carried me a mile back to the car. In the photo, he's giving me a piggyback ride, and we're both laughing. I remember that day. I remember feeling so taken care of, so loved. When did that change? When did I stop seeing him as this person who loved me and start seeing him as someone who wasn't enough? I started going through old text messages. From years ago when we first got together. He used to send me good morning texts. Little messages throughout the day about things that made him think of me. Pictures of stuff he thought I'd like. I went through our messages from the last year before the divorce. He sent me maybe 10 messages that weren't about logistics, and my responses were either one-word answers or complaints about something. He stopped trying because I stopped responding, and I never even noticed. Found his Netflix account was still logged in on my laptop. His watch history showed he'd been rewatching all our old favorite shows, the ones we used to watch together. But he was watching them alone now. Moving on with his life without me in it. I cried for 2 hours over that. My therapist asked me something last session that I can't stop thinking about. If you met yourself at a party, Would you want to be friends with you? I said yes at first. Then she asked me to really think about it. Would you want to be friends with someone who constantly complained, who made everyone around them feel inadequate, who could never be satisfied no matter what people did for them? The answer is no. I wouldn't want to be friends with me. Nobody would. That's why I'm alone. She asked what I thought I'd get out of treating him that way. I don't know. I guess I thought if I pushed him hard enough, he'd become more successful. Did it work? No. What did it accomplish? Made him leave. Right, so your strategy of constant criticism and disappointment failed to motivate him, but succeeded in destroying your marriage. What does that tell you? It tells me I'm an idiot who thought emotional abuse was motivation. Saw him again 2 weeks ago. Same grocery store. He was with that woman again. The one I saw him with before. They were standing in the checkout line and she said something that made him laugh. Really laugh. The way he used to laugh with me before I killed that part of him. He didn't see me this time. I made sure to stay out of sight. Watched them leave together. Watched him open the car door for her. Watched them drive away. He's dating someone, or at least spending time with someone who makes him laugh. Someone who's not me. Someone who probably doesn't spend all her time telling him he's not enough. I sat in my car in that parking lot for an hour. Just sat there crying because I know I'll never have that again. That moment of easy affection with someone who actually likes being around me. Because I don't know how to be that person anymore. Maybe I never did. Got a message from my mom yesterday. Just checking in. Asked how I was doing. I lied and said I was fine. She didn't believe me. Have you thought about what you're gonna change? About yourself, I mean. What do you mean? You can't just go through life treating people this way. Eventually everyone will leave. You need to figure out what made you think that behavior was acceptable. She's right. My dad's right. My siblings are right. My ex-coworkers are right. My ex-friends are right. He was right. I'm the common denominator in all my failed relationships now. And that's a hard thing to accept. My lease is up in 8 months. I'm already dreading it because I'll probably have to find somewhere even cheaper. My performance improvement plan at work ends in 2 weeks, and I'm not confident I'll pass it. My family barely talks to me. I have no friends, no support system, nothing. This is what I earned. This is the life I built for myself, with my own attitude and my own choices. People keep asking if I've learned anything, if I've grown. I've learned that you can't take back years of making someone feel worthless. I've learned that saying I was joking doesn't erase damage. I've learned that treating people with contempt has consequences. I've learned that being alone isn't always something that happens to you. Sometimes it's something you do to yourself. My therapist asked if I'd do anything differently if I could go back. Everything. I'd do everything differently. I'd appreciate what I had. I'd treat him with kindness. I'd support his successes instead of focusing on perceived failures. I'd build him up instead of tearing him down. But I can't go back. That's not how time works. So instead, I'm here in my studio apartment that smells like cigarettes and old carpet, eating instant noodles for the 4th night this week. Completely alone, because I spent 5 years being the kind of person nobody wants to be around. He's out there somewhere living his best life, happy, at peace, probably falling in love with someone who deserves him. And I'm here learning a lesson that cost me everything. To everyone reading this who's treating their partner like I treated mine, stop. Right now. Before you end up like me. Before you look around one day and realize you destroyed the best thing in your life because you couldn't shut up and appreciate it. Because this is where that road leads. To a studio apartment with thin walls and no furniture. To a job you're about to lose. To a family that's given up on you. To a life completely alone. I don't know if I'll ever figure out how to be a better person. I don't know if I'll ever have another relationship. I don't know if I deserve one. What I do know is that I had someone who loved me, who tried for years to make me happy, who did everything right, and I threw it away because I thought I deserved better. Turns out, I didn't deserve him at all. That's my story. Woman meets good man, woman treats good man like garbage for years, good man finally leaves, woman realizes too late that she was the villain in her own story. Not exactly the ending I thought I'd get, but it's the one I wrote for myself. one cruel comment at a time.